Today we're going to be taking a look at a step-by-step guide to creating buttons in Notion. Some of the main things we're going to look at are how buttons work, a step-by-step guide to setting up buttons in Notion, and at the end of the video we'll have an extra bonus tip. So if you're ready, let's get started. Alright, so here we are on our notes page, and this is the same page we've been setting up over our last few videos. We have our table of contents, we set up gallery view, and then we also set up our notes database. So we house all of our notes here, and we created duplicates of that database for each individual notebook below. So I'll go ahead and leave links to those videos in the description. And then also be sure to stay tuned to the end of this video for a bonus tip. But right now what we're going to look at is how to create this actual button right here so we can create new notes more efficiently. So one way to create notes, we can always go down to our database, and when we click this new button, you'll notice that that template we created in our last video pops up just like this. But one thing that makes it a little easier when using Notion, instead of having to scroll to the bottom of the page or to a different section, what we can do is just create a button like this. So if I click this button, what you'll see is the template that we created actually pops up. And so buttons can be a great way to be more efficient and save time when using Notion. So before we create this button, one thing I want to mention is be sure to set up the database and any templates you want to use when using this button. So for example, this main notes YouTube database is what we're going to use as a reference. And then again, in our last video, we learned how to set up this actual notes template. So right here, I'm just setting up this note template as a default in our database. And this database we're going to reference when we set up the button. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this button, and then we're going to set it up step by step so we can see the process and how we do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a new block, and I'm going to type in /button. And as you can see, the button option comes here, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. And now you'll see that we've got an area right here where we can name the button, or we can change the icon. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and I'll call it Add a New Note. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the icon to a plus sign inside of the circle, and I'll make it red just for today's purposes of training. So now as you can see, if I click done, the new button has been created. But what you'll see is there's a red triangle here with an exclamation point inside of it, and it says this button has no actions. So what that means is if you click that button, nothing will happen. So now let's take a look at how we set up the actions we want it to take when we click the button. So I'm going to go ahead and click the edit button here, little settings wheel. And so now what you'll see is this is where we add all of the actions that we want to occur when we click that button. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and click new action. And what I want to have happen when I click this button is I want it to add a page so I can create a new note. And now you'll see it says select database. So again, we're going to reference our notes database since we want to create a new note. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click select database and choose the database that I want to reference. And now we want to use the note template, which is the default template that we set up. So now another thing we can do is we can edit the properties that we want to pop up when we actually open this new template using that button. So I'm going to want to go ahead and use the notebook selection because this allows me to choose which notebook I want it to go to. And then the next step we're going to take is click add action one more time. And here we're just going to click open page, form, or URL. And then once we do that, we're going to select the page that we want it to open. So we'll just click page added. So now let's take a look at what we've got in here and see what it's going to do. So once I click add new note, the first action it's going to take is it's going to add a page to the main notes database. And then we're going to be using that note template we created. Then we're able to choose which notebook we want to put the actual note into. And then the last action it's going to take is it's going to actually open up the page that was just added. And then we're going to open it in center peak. So this option, you can open it in side peak, center peak, or as a full page. For training purposes for this video, I'm just going to click center peak, and then I'm going to go ahead and click done. And so now what you'll see is the button is created and that little triangle is gone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and test the functionality of this button. So I'm going to go ahead and click it. And now you'll see that the new template that we created does pop up. So I'm going to go ahead and name this test note 123. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose the ideas notebook because that's where I want the note to go. And once I click out of here, what we'll see is test note 123 did pop up. So this all notes database shows that test note 123 has been entered and it is in the ideas notebook. So if I scroll down to the ideas notebook, you will see that it is nested right here. All right, so here we are in our mobile view and we're back on the same notes page. I'm going to go ahead and use that add a new note button just to test the functionality in mobile view as well. So I go ahead and click add a new note, As you can see, a new page was created. I'm going to go ahead and name this new page Test Note 456, School Notebook. And as you can see, this note and the template has been created. And so if I go back one page, what you can see if I use my table of contents and go down to School Notes, Test Note 456 has been created and it's in that school notebook. So let's go ahead and jump back to the desktop view. All right, so here we are back on our notes page. And as a bonus tip, I want to give a little personal preference that I like to do whenever I create buttons in certain situations. So if you look at the new note button here, what you can notice is it's a white button on a white background. What you can do is you can always change the color of the button by going to these 6 dots to the left of the Add New Note button, and you can change the color by coming here. You can change the color of the text, or you can change the color of the background of the button. So for example, if we wanted to make it green, you click green background, and now the button has a green background when you hover over it. I'm gonna go ahead and change that back to its default color. But another thing that you can do is you can create what's called a callout. So what that does is that creates a little section that's changed to a different color once you actually create that button. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and create a new block, and I'm gonna push / and type in callout. And what you can see is this callout pops up. I'm gonna go ahead and click there. And now what you can see is there's a little box that pops up. And so what you can do is you can similarly change the color of this callout. So I'll change the color to blue. And now what you can do is go to the 6 dots to the left of the Add New button. I'm going to left click and drag that into the actual callout. And now what you can see is we've got a blue callout box around that button, so it sticks out just a little bit more. And so now what you'll notice also is I made this have a few different columns. So it looks like I made 3 columns here. Normally if it was a separate block, what it would look like is something like this. So if I were to drag this into a block that went all the way across the screen, you can notice that that callout would go all the way across the screen. But if you drag it into a specific number of columns, you can notice that blue bar is a lot smaller, and that actually makes the callout shorter so it doesn't go all the way across the screen. So this would be 2 columns, or I can always right click here, go to Turn Into, and I can change the number of columns for the size I want it to be. So for example, if I went to 4 columns, now you can see how small that button is. If I change it into 3 columns, similarly, it would do the same thing and change the size of the actual button. All right, so here we are in a side-by-side comparison. And what you can see on the mobile view and the desktop view is that we have that callout section, and we've got that blue section that's showing up right there. And that gives that differentiation of color behind that Add a New Note button on the Notion page. So as you can see, buttons are a great feature to use in Notion. They can help you increase efficiency and use different functions in the Notion platform. I hope you got a lot of great value from this video, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, be sure to comment down below if you have any questions, or if you want to let us know how you use buttons in Notion.